Thanks everyone, nice to be here today. So kia ora, I'm Celena. I'm the Chief People Officer at Mitre, but I'm representing a fabulous group of people who do this mahi, particularly Nish Pai, who's down in our front table. She's our Head of Learning Experience in our team. Arahi is one of our learning managers, and Ryan, unfortunately, has worn himself out doing leadership development training in Whanganui yesterday and couldn't be here today, but he is a brilliant facilitator in our team. So kia ora team, it's great to have you alongside. So as Darren said, I've long been in retail. I started as a salesperson selling crock pots and vacuum cleaners and farmers in Henderson Square, and have never left. Worked for Noel Leeming Group when it was Noel Leeming and Bond, etc., and then through into Spark and Spark Retail, Vodafone with a kind of consumer arm, customer experience, and then through into Mitre. And I'm really privileged to represent the brand today, so I have to do the high vis. We didn't do uniform today, which we would normally do. But I'm really pleased to share some of our leadership journey. This has been a work in progress over a couple of years, and I'll share a bit about what we've done, how we've taken LSI from the top leadership team right through to our frontline leaders who are out in our stores, some of our lessons that we've learned, and we're open to questions throughout the breaks today, so we'll hang out all day if you want to ask us anything. So let's start with a bit about Mitre. We are an iconic brand. You will know us very well. We're from Kaitaia down to Invercargill across Aotearoa, and we're locally owned. So we are not a franchise, we are not a corporate, we're a cooperative, which means I have 66 CEOs. I've got one at Mitre New Zealand, which is based up in Greville Road, or off Greville Road, up in Albany. You might know our iconic building up in Albany there. But we've got 65 members who own their stores across 84 stores. We have grown hugely, thanks to you all for investing in your gardens and your homes during COVID. We've grown 40% in 3 years. And we're not seeing that taper off, so please do keep spending. We're very lucky that we're very house proud as Kiwi. We have over 8,000 team members. Just yesterday it was 8,100. We're starting to ramp up for Christmas trading. And overall, we're a $3.2 billion business. So we're a very successful brand, take that very seriously. And part of what I'm proud of is that we help Kiwi in both the good times and the bad. So you can imagine when we've got lots of money to spend, we go and invest in our homes, and then we come to the rescue through some of the horrific flooding, for example, we've seen earlier this year. And that's a responsibility we take really seriously. So if you think about all of that context, leadership development is really hard mahi. We're not in a corporate where we can say, here's what we're going to do, we're going to roll a program out and everybody must do it. That simply doesn't happen in our business. First of all, our members think they're excellent and they don't need any development because they're entrepreneurs in their own right and been doing this for a long time. But we've been really looking at what do we need to do from the hire to retire experience so that we keep the flavour of a cooperative, which is locally owned, a member who works in the store every single day, that's really precious to us, but has a universal, ambition for people experience. And we all know that that starts with leadership. So let's think about where we were a couple of years ago, 2020 and 21. It won't surprise you that leadership is a real key for us as much as it is for you all. And the challenge for us is how do we take this and turn it into the future ambition? So here we are in 2021 with really high attrition. COVID was hitting. It was not a fun place to work in frontline retail, supermarkets, etc. It was hard anyway. But navigating traffic lights, having to deliver product into your boot contactless, the rules were changing week on week. It was a very, very hard time, and it continues to be through the violent and abusive customer experiences, kind of interactions that we're seeing. It's really hard work. So that's a real challenge for us. That's an absolute cost to the business. And at the same time, if I can get this to go, we also confirmed a 5-year strategy. Previously, we've been quite piecemeal in our strategy, but we're very clear on where we want to get to, and we've got a very clear plan for the future. And part of that is a program called Program 1, which if you're an SAP fan, you may have heard about. We are changing every core system of the business, which is completely out of date now. It hasn't had investment in 20 years. We're putting in SAP, we're replacing our point of sale at the front lines. Basically, every system changes, and we're changing our entire operating model. So going from every store doing their own thing and Support Centre being basically a buying and marketing function to moving the things that make sense, that customers don't care about, into the Support Centre because there are efficiencies to be gained. So there's a big transfer of work happening, particularly in our accounts and our finance kind of functions, inventory management, centralising. And that takes good leadership. When you're going to do something that huge in the next few years, and the journey we've already been on, because we're in year 3 of a 5-year program, this is all about leadership. It's going to be good leaders that get us through, that lead their teams through local change, the big change, and we're right in the thick of it. So we really had to identify that as our burning platform, but also our burning ambition. There's no good of having one without the other. So that's what was our remit to do something a little bit different in our space. Our people experience ambition is really simple, and it's borrowed unapologetically from Josh Burson. We really focus on what goes on the inside being the outside, and that really reflects our culture as Mitre tenants. We're incredibly humble. We don't like singing from the rooftops. We just get on and do the hard work. Our owners will be on the shop floor sweeping if that's what it takes, serving a customer, cleaning the toilets, whatever it takes. They're an incredibly humble bunch of people. So it is absolutely reflecting what happens on the inside. And Nish and I added the leadership arrow. It starts with our leaders. The experience that every leader gives their people will game change our customer experience at the end of the day. So really what we wanted to focus on is why leadership needed to become the number one priority. That was it. And what we did last year is elevate it to the strategic level. So it's in our strategic ambition. It is the number one thing we're doing as a people team and in the people experience strategy, so that it gave us a remit, but it also made sure our members understood that's the one thing to do over the next couple of years. So that's been hugely advantageous to us. That's our goal. We repeat it over and over. So it's given us that real runway. So we've been on this 2-year journey. It's not finished, never is, but here are some of the impacts that we're seeing and some of the things that we did. First, we got really clear on what the outcome was that we wanted, and we didn't start small. Yes, we were in a transition, yes, we were in a transformation, yes, we're changing everything, and key leadership competence and capability was key, but what we really wanted to create was a culture of care and trust. Now that is challenging in retail because often we promote the longest serving team member who's the most convenient person to be a team leader after say 2 years of service. And then we give them very little developmental support to be successful. So we wonder why things don't go very well. And we're not very different. We wanted to raise leadership to be a craft, not to be the thing you do on the side while you're doing other things. And in retail, that's we often find ourselves in this kind of cycle of disciplinary meeting after disciplinary meeting for failing to wear your uniform properly or lateness, and we don't pop our heads above that parapet and think, what's the thing that's driving that? What are we not doing well at the core from a system or a leadership point of view to actually be able to do some good stuff? So imagine instead a retail store where people receive great leadership every day. It's in the flow of their everyday work. It's not something that happens as separate. Everyone's empowered, they get the right information at the right time, they've got clearly communicated rails to operate within, they get the coaching and feedback they need at the time, and so small wobbles are rectified before they become bigger ones. So it was no small ambition, but that's what we're gunning for. So we identified LSI, that will be familiar to all of you, as a world-class tool to bring in, and we haven't done a lot of that in Mitre 10. We've tended to do things on the cheap, DIY, and build it ourselves. So this is the first time we've said we need a North Star, we need a really grounded, world-class North Star, and we've picked LSI, and I am a personal fan. I've been an accredited coach for a number of years, as Darren said, and so it's a familiar tool for me, and I know how powerful it can be. So we started as an executive team with a group of our senior leaders a couple of years ago now and did this ourselves, and what we found was a lot more blue than I expected, I've got to be honest. In retail and sales jobs we tend to be a bit red, which is okay, but actually was a lot more blue. What we also found though is it was a lot more of kind of the green passive defensive behaviour than we expected, and we're still kind of working through that a little bit to overcome it. And what I think that is, what we've talked about since, is that because we're a cooperative and we're in service of our members, we feel the need to over-collaborate, to perhaps not make decisions decisively enough, and kind of be a bit more tentative. So it's kind of a cultural norm that's been established that we're trying to overcome. What we did then is we committed to every senior leader in our support centre doing it. We always start with ourselves first. That works very well in a cooperative. Do it to yourself first. And it's been incredibly, incredibly powerful. The common language of LSI has rippled through very, very quickly. I've seen the leadership level capability really step up. And we've also held quarterly kind of get-togethers. My top tip is don't let it die. Don't do it once and let it die. We've had quarterly get-togethers with people who've done it to keep the learning going, talked about verbal styles or words, talked about, where are we all at in our coaching journey, what's new, how are we helping each other, because you're kind of fostering that continued development going forward. Then we said, now how do we take it down through the stores? Because that's a big, complicated model to take into retail. So Nish worked fabulously with Darren and said, how do we translate this into Mitre 10 DIY language? And we created our own model called the 4 Cs. And you can see them there on the screen there. They represent the 4 blue constructive styles, but put in very, very plain English and are very, very practical. And the thing we've got to establish in retail is that there's no time to do anything too scientific or theoretical or administrative off the floor. You've got to build the habits so that it becomes natural every day. And so the 4 Cs have a couple of points underneath them, which is the doing. What do you need to do to have that show up for your people every single day? And that is translating beautifully right through the business, isn't it, guys? So it's coming down through, just do the 4 Cs, and then you're sweet as a leader. You're hitting everything you need to do. So that's been really powerful. And building on that, we came back to the key rituals and behaviours. And I think often we overcomplicate leadership. And for retail, there's no time to do that, as I'm saying. So we got clear on what's the baseline. And we were thinking real baseline here, one-on-ones, feedback, having good conversations, setting people up for success from day one. This is not rocket science in retail. It's the simple recipe that sometimes you've got to come back to and earn that permission to have the kind of cherries on top that go through above that. So our baseline creates what we call vanilla ice cream through the cooperative. Everyone shall receive this level of leadership, and then locally, as a member, you can kind of add your sprinkles and your topping on top that reflects your local community, the team that you have around you, and your local personality. Every member is a little bit different, as I say, around 65 separate CEOs. Then we worked hard to embed it in everything, and this is ongoing, but we don't want the leadership piece to exist on its own. It's got to translate through every single thing that we're doing so that it resonates. And I think we said yesterday, didn't we, Nish, you've got to repeat it 7 times. We had a bit of a giggle around that, and we're repeating it often. So we've put it into our interview guides and questions for leadership. We've put it into performance development. We've put it into leadership forums, goal setting. We focus on it as an executive team. It's on tent cards in the middle of our boardroom table and on all of our desks, so it's right there in front of us every single day, and we come back to it alongside our values as a business. We do leadership speakers, which we broadcast across the cooperative on a monthly basis, and so we're always coming back to those themes. How do we tap into where we think people need a bit of help around those 4 Cs? The other thing we do is sell it. Sell it like you would not believe. This part of the journey is never done. In a cooperative, we're never light on getting feedback. They're very quick to say, that's a load of rubbish, Celena, start again, aren't they? They're very quick on that. Very rarely tell us we're doing a great job, which is good, it's a good challenge. But we've got to sell it. And in a cooperative too, what you're delivering, if it's not adding value to the bottom line, they won't do it. They can have the choice to pick up any leadership course, any leadership guru that they like or they've heard about or they know. So we've got to be the best. And so embedding it in everything makes it pretty hard to get out of. There is some stealth and violence going on from us underneath at the end of the day. But that, embedding it is really key. So next we're driving leadership in action. We want our frontline leaders to engage with the programs, which I'll show you in a moment, but we've got to get our the members and the senior leaders on board. So before a member of their team do any of our learning courses, the senior leadership is inducted or onboarding onto the program, and we're very clear about what they need to do to support their team through. So there is a leader playbook. They spend time with Nish and the team. This is what we expect. This is what you're going to need to do. And actually, would you like to do it with your team or do it before your team so that they can lead by example? And that's resonating hugely. Quite hard to get those guys who have been in leadership for a long time, guys and girls, to come on board, but this is really resonating for them. We've just recently completed a cohort in Christchurch, and one of the co-facilitators was the GM of the store. And that's been great. I've seen his leadership capabilities, a big fan. He's just loved it. It's been great for his growth. And we've got the entire leadership team across Hawke's Bay, Napier and Hastings, doing this together. And they're one of our first stores to be deployed with SAP in the early part of next year. So they are going to be change ready, change fit as leaders, as one united team, and that's our goal. And I think they're helping to pay for some of it, Nish, aren't they? Now, when you get a member saying, I'll even help pay for it, we've won, so that's great. That's our acid test. Lastly, we've created leadership pathways that are aspirational. So how do we meet every single market, from those who are emerging leaders to prep them before they get their first gig into leadership, right through to a member and our senior leaders and executive. And we've really tried to make them aspirational so that we have demand. How do we make a kind of a wait list for these courses? And we're doing really, really well in that space. These have all been going for about 9 months, the first group. And we've seen over 300 leaders go through our programs thus far, and a lot more on the waiting list to go. The average feedback is better than we've ever had. We're getting 8.5 to 9.5 ratings out of 10 on content relevance and confidence, and that's better than any other program that we've ever run. We never get 10s, bless them. But that is really making a difference, that because it's relevant, and the thing I'm remembering is not the catering and the air conditioning, we're winning, so that's really great. The other thing that we've done too is pilot. So the way we do things is come up with a program and then partner with probably some of our noisiest members, the ones who are not showing feedback, get them on board, we shape it, we roll it out, and then we go wide. So it really is pilot and learn, which is really powerful. We know then that our courses and our programs are relevant. Each of these programs too can be a buffet. So rather than sheet dip everybody through one thing, we've said if you actually want to learn a bit here and a bit here and a bit here, you can absolutely do that. So making it really useful for people depending on where in their leadership journey they are personally. So that's our lessons learned, the kind of six key milestones. I think the big things starting with that why, the burning ambition and burning platform has been a huge advantage for us. And then simplifying leadership, super simple tasks, not hard in retail, make it really easy, and then get that alignment and integration right across the board by putting it through everything and selling it as the thing to concentrate on. That's been our secret sauce. I did want to finish with some pictures. So this is the fabulous Ryan is he at the front of the room? I can't actually see him, he might be on the side. Taking some of our team through, you can see 4Cs in the back there. This is out in one of our stores, working through it together. And you can imagine taking a group of leaders off a sales floor is all money down the drain if it's not useful. So the opportunity cost is something we really hold dear. That's why our programs have to be great. I'm working through some things with Google, another group. And then we had the privilege of going to San Francisco, which as an HR person in corporate previously, this would never have happened, but we took Darren. So thanks Darren, mate, for coming along. We had the opportunity of a captive audience of 400 people from Mitre and our supply community just in August this year. Well, I wasn't given that up. How do I get 90 minutes of leadership, which we have never done? We've never had a leadership topic in the conference ever in the history of Mitre. So we captured 400, we took them through some LSI workshops using the wee cards that we might have all seen now, those of us who are accredited, and they loved it. You had them clapping, doing the whole synchronised 1, 2, 3, clapping, jumping. It was hilarious. But they really got it. What does good leadership need to look like through change? Incredibly powerful, great conversations. There's been people reaching out for their own packs and things since of the cards, but that really helped. So that was Darren keeping them all busy up in the Fairmont in San Fran, and some of our leadership team, and our board chair Martin Dippy on the left having a great old time. So that's our acid test. But you know, I do think selling it, even when you're in a corporate, if you can't sell it in an elevator pitch, then you've missed the trick. So the real why had to come through in that. So we had some great conversations. And that's our picture at Mitre 10. So we're just getting started. There's lots more to do, right, Nish and team? But do come and ask us any questions. It's great to present a little bit about our business today. If you have children, I've got to do the pitch. If you've got kids, neighbours, friends who are looking for retail jobs, hit us up. They're all on the website. It's a great place to work, and there's great staff discount for mum and dad. So do stay in touch. Thanks, everyone.